All right, let's talk a little college basketball, and let's begin in the Big 12 with what was a huge game in Lubbock, Texas, and Kansas got absolutely rocked by Texas Tech. First of all, with Texas Tech, they're the number one ranked defensive efficiency team in the country. You know they are great on that end of the floor. They really switch up defense as well, and they switch a ton of screens, which forces you to play one-on-one, and that's really challenging. But here's the thing. We know they're good defensively. With Texas Tech, if they shoot it like they did on Saturday night, Texas Tech's Final Four level good. The Red Raiders were 16 of 26 from beyond the arc. Those guys making 16 threes with the way they defend, forget about it, man. So I think we got to start with giving Texas Tech a little bit of love. Chris Beard has been amazing in Lubbock and what he's done. But back to Kansas. Full disclosure, I played for Coach Self for 2 years in Lawrence, Kansas. And I was on the Kansas team that won the very first Big 12 regular season crown all the way back in 2004 that got this streak started. And I've been blown away by this Big 12 regular season championship streak from Coach Self. And it's in jeopardy right now. But you look at Kansas, and there is this feeling that it feels like too much has gone wrong for this team. Coach Self has had to be like MacGyver right there on the sidelines with LeGerald Vick is out on personal leave. Azubuike is out for the year with an injury. Sylvia DeSosa is ruled ineligible by the NCAA. Marcus Garrett just returned with a foot injury. He had to pull Abaji's red shirt, a freshman from Kansas City. I think the fact that Kansas is even in this position to have a chance to win a Big 12 championship, given everything that's happened this year, is a testament to Bill Self and the coaching job he's done this year. Think about it. There isn't a single player in the starting lineup right now that was on the Final Four team last year. It's basically Dedrick Lawson and a bunch of freshmen. And it kind of felt like on Saturday night, it was a perfect storm that came together for Kansas to get blown out. And they did. Now you look at the rest of the road for the Jayhawks, and Kansas probably needs to win out to capture Big 12 title number 15. They got a huge game in Allen Fieldhouse against Kansas State, and I like Kansas a lot in this game. It's an in-state rival. There's going to be some revenge on the minds of the Jayhawks from the previous loss in Manhattan, and Kansas just got embarrassed. And if there's anything I know about Bill Self, when his teams do get beat soundly, he has a way of pushing the right buttons and getting those guys ready to respond. I think Coach Self's going to have those dudes ready to go. I'll count out Kansas once I see another team physically hoisting the Big 12 championship trophy. Until then, I will never fully count out a Bill Self team to find a way. Let's switch gears, go to the SEC, and Tennessee loses again. They lost on the road to LSU, and so Tennessee has now lost 2 of their last 3 games. And this LSU loss is a little concerning. Not because LSU isn't good. I think they are. I mean, keep in mind, LSU won at Kentucky. I like Will Wade's team quite a bit. But the reason it's concerning is because LSU was without their stud MVP point guard, Tremont Waters. He's one of the best point guards in all of college basketball, and he was out, and LSU still won. And the question is, okay, is it panic time? How good is Tennessee? I'm not ready to totally panic on Tennessee, but I guess the answer to that question depends on how good you think they are. And I've never really thought they're a Final Four caliber team, so this isn't too surprising to me. When you look at the totality of what Tennessee has done, their strength of schedule is pretty weak when you compare it to some other 1 seeds and 2 seeds. The only team that had a worse strength of schedule in the NCAA tournament's mock selections of top 16 seeds a few weeks ago was Nevada. And Nevada is in the Mountain West. Tennessee this year has played 4 teams that were ranked at the time the Volunteers played them. And Tennessee is 1-3 in those games. They lost to Kansas, they lost to Kentucky, and now they lost to LSU. I just don't know how battle-tested they realistically are. And there is a bad trend over the last 2 losses for Tennessee. Think about this. Kentucky shot 33 free throws against Tennessee, and LSU shot 31. That's a ton of free throws. Tennessee has had a hard time playing defense without fouling, and you can't put good teams at the line that much. That's just giving up easy points. I like Tennessee. I don't love Tennessee, but the one thing to keep in mind is I am a believer in momentum and heading into March and feeling good and playing your best basketball. Tennessee does need to find that momentum and get the mojo going. They need to get things back on track. All right, from the SEC to the Big Ten. Best win of the weekend has to go to Tom Izzo's crew. Michigan State won on the road at Michigan. And when you consider the opponent, the fact that it was on the road, and all the injuries to Michigan State, that's an amazing win for Michigan State. Here's what we all need to remember. When you have a player of the year caliber point guard, and you have a Hall of Fame level coach, you got a chance to win no matter who you are playing or where you are playing. And in spite of the two big injuries for Michigan State with Nick Ward and Joshua Langford, Michigan State still has their MVP, Cassius Winston. He played 40 minutes, 40, against Michigan, and Winston scored 27 points and had 8 assists. There isn't a player I trust more in college basketball than Cassius Winston. There are a lot of players I like. There are a lot of players that are super talented. There aren't a lot of players that I really trust. And you know Cassius Winston is going to give you a few things every single night. He's a great decision maker. He's a great passer. He's a really good scorer, but he doesn't hunt shots. He's got a cool, calm demeanor, and he isn't worried about anything else other than winning. Some guys get caught up or preoccupied on the wrong things, their points, their shots, who's getting attention, the NBA. Winston isn't worried about any of that stuff. He's worried about winning, and I absolutely love that, and that makes me trust that dude. And with that win, Michigan State is now on the top of the Big Ten standings and in the driver's seat to win the league potentially, with Purdue right there and Michigan right there as well. You look at the schedule left, and Michigan's probably got the toughest slate left of the three. They got road games at Maryland and at Michigan State to end the regular season. Michigan State's got kind of smooth sailing until that final home game against the Wolverines. And then Purdue, their toughest test left is probably a road game at Minnesota. All I know is it's going to be a tight race. You better get your popcorn ready for the finish of the Big Ten regular season, because it's going to be a really, really good one. All right, from the Big Ten to the ACC, let's talk about Duke and a great road win for the Blue Devils on the road at Syracuse. Zion Williamson didn't play, but that was the best dang 295-pound cheerleader I've ever seen. That guy was totally engaged on the bench, which I think is great. And I think is telling. This guy is all in on Duke and all in on his teammates. My read is that as long as the knee's fine, he's going to come back and play. And he should. To the shut it down crowd, Zion Williamson should shut it down. Even if he shuts it down, he's still going to be playing basketball and working out. He could just as easily get hurt working out, playing pickup games, working on his game 1-on-0 as he could playing at Duke. So for everyone saying he should shut it down, let me get this straight. So getting hurt in a Duke game is bad, but getting hurt in a pickup game or working out by himself, that's all good. There's a little bit of flawed logic and outthinking yourself with some of this stuff. Zion isn't going to sit in a bubble until the draft in June. He's going to be out there working out and playing basketball. And to me, if the knee is good and he's medically cleared and he feels good about it, he should come back and play. But back to the Syracuse game. With Zion Williamson out, the guy who flexed his muscles was R.J. Barrett. He reminded everyone that Barrett was the projected number 1 pick just 3 months ago. He was lethal in the middle of that 2-3 zone offensively. 30 points, 14 of 20 from the floor, 5 boards, 7 assists. He was fantastic. And the other Dookie who was great was the 6'6 sophomore Alex O'Connell. He was a zone buster. 20 points for him, 5 of 8 from 3. He was fantastic. So the question is, Duke without Zion, are they still a Final Four caliber team? I think they absolutely are. They still have R.J. Barrett. They still have Cam Reddish. They still have Trey Jones. They got great size. I mean, they still have 2 lottery picks, for crying out loud. Now, without Zion, their margin for error does get smaller. The lack of depth gets amplified even more, so foul trouble or other injuries are going to be even more of an issue. And you're probably going to need guys like O'Connell to knock down shots, because you're not going to get as many easy baskets that Zion gets you or getting to the free throw line. But still, Duke without Zion Williamson, I still think it's good enough to get to the Final Four. And lastly, I want to give some love to 2 guys in college basketball. Mike Dahm of South Dakota State and Chris Clemens from Campbell University. Both guys have gone over 3,000 points for their career this season. I want you to think about this now. Only 10 players ever in the history of college basketball have scored 3,000 points, and Dahm and Clemens are 2 of the 10. Dahm went over 3,000 points this weekend. Clemens did it a few weeks ago, and it's just an incredible accomplishment. To stick around for 4 years, to deal with the bullseye every single night, to deal with being the focal point of the defensive scouting report every night, to know that every single ounce of energy from the opposition is spent geared towards stopping you from scoring, and yet you still deliver every single night, major salute. It's tough to score 1,000 points in college. It's amazing to score 2,000 points in college. It's almost impossible to score 3,000 points. So congratulations to both those guys. We should all be giving Dom and Clemens a basketball standing ovation for what they've done in their basketball careers.